Here we are. This is Full Body Frequency, and I'm Laura Rice, your host. Have you ever listened to music and been transported to another place, space, or time? Well, every time I've seen violinist Caitlin Edwards play, the journey begins. A native of Alabama, Caitlin Edwards calls Chicago home in between playing at Coachella, recording with the Recollective Orchestra for Disney's The Lion King soundtrack, and appearing on the stage with the likes of John Legend, Earth, Wind, and Fire, PJ Morton, India Ari, Lauryn Hill, and so many more. Edwards began playing the violin at 8 years old. Since then, she's won numerous scholarships and awards, earning both her Bachelor of Music and her Master of Music in Violin Performance from the University of Louisville and DePaul University, respectively. Caitlin Edwards, composer, arranger, violinist, and the creator of a beautiful tone and wonderful musical experiences. Welcome to Full Body Frequency.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm honored to be included on your podcast. And thank you for having me.
Well, you are quite welcome. And this is a treat for me because I'm a fan. First and foremost, I'm a fan of your work and everything that you've done so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing much more from you in the future. Now, that said, I must admit, I have violin envy. I had always envisioned myself with a bow in hand, breaking violin strings and making grown folks cry with my music. But the reality hit when my mother said, "You need to master the piano and then take up the violin." But, some dreams crust up like a raisin in the sun, and it was not to be for me. But you are clearly doing what you were born to do. So, what's your earliest childhood memory of music and why the violin?
My earliest childhood memory of music is probably singing in my church's gospel choir. I grew up singing, grew up in the church from like the age of 4. I would be singing solos with the like adult choir, and it'd be broadcasted on our local AM gospel
Mhm.
radio station, along with the church service. I remember just always singing, and my mom would put me in these like little talent competitions in Birmingham. But that was my idea. Okay, one day I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna be a famous singer, that's gonna be it. And then in 3rd grade, my teacher called our house and was like, hey, this organization, they're going into local Birmingham city schools, elementary schools, and they're giving free violin group lessons. And I think Caitlin would be good for this. And I was just like, yeah, sure, violin. That's something to get me out of class, you know, get out of whatever class I was in, and I can go learn music. And to me, it was just so much fun, getting to learn something new, do something new through music. So that's really shout out to that teacher, Shante Brown, um, for getting me started with violin.
All right. So this isn't a flex, but most of my peers and I, we took music lessons. We participated and attended performances at church like you, school, and concert halls. But most of us stopped playing before high school. Some of us were good. I was not. But most of us were not gifted. When did you and your parents realize that you had the gift?
Well, I guess when I was younger, I'll start off with that. I was in youth orchestras, like small little baby youth orchestras and stuff. And we would do these things called seating auditions, where we, play a little excerpt and audition for our chairs, where we would be
Mhm.
placed in the orchestra. And so for every year, I would advance to a new orchestra, but I would also get placed as concert master. So that was my first, and concert master is, the first chair, first violins. And so that's when I was like, oh, I might like be good with this. And I was excited to play. I was excited to practice. I was excited to do a lot of things. When I was in 6th grade, I was auditioning for the performing arts junior high school in Alabama, Alabama School of Fine Arts. And my private teacher at the time, she was like, okay, for us to do this, we're going to have to work hard. We're going to, you're going to have to work hard. And she was a mean lady. I cried after every lesson.
Mhm, mhm.
But when I finally got into the school, she was like, you have to promise me something. When you graduate, you have to promise me that you don't major in music.
Hmm.
Yes, this teacher told me this. She was like, "Don't pursue a career in music." And at the time, I'm in 6th grade, so I'm like, "Oh no, I'm going to law school and be a lawyer." And I think it was in 8th grade when one of the music teachers at the school mentioned to me, so Caitlin, like, have you thought about the future, what you're going to pursue in college, music? And I was like, oh, do you think I could really do that? Because that previous teacher had planted in my mind that I could not, pursue this.
Mhm.
And this later teacher really, she helped me realize, no, this is something that's actually attainable. You can make a career in it. You're more than qualified to like pursue it and learn. So yeah, that was kind of my journey through figuring out, oh, I am good enough to keep this going.
Mhm. So I'm just curious, why did the previous teacher discourage you from pursuing a career in music?
I think she was reflecting on her own career.
Mm.
Um, in my opinion, she she did a great job with establishing an educational organization that would go into the schools and give students the opportunity to learn. I think that's truly impactful because it got me to where I am, but she was reflecting on her own personal path of violin.
Mm,
And at the time, really, to succeed in a career in violin performance, you either had to be a soloist or be in an orchestra. Especially in Alabama,
okay.
we weren't in LA or New York, so there wasn't really um, representation of like film scoring or recording on albums with artists. That wasn't really represented. And I don't think she had much faith in me either. But towards the end, she
Mhm.
did. When I graduated from high school, she was really proud. So,
Almost sounds like it's her fear of what she didn't do, and maybe disappointment, maybe in some way she was trying to protect you.
yes.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. So now we know you're gifted, but the gift will only take you so far. You said you enjoyed practicing, which I must admit a lot of folks don't enjoy. Your parents are staring down at you, get on that piano, get on that violin, I pay good money for whatever, whatever, whatever. So, a musician of your caliber has to be disciplined. What are some of the personal rituals and professional processes that you engage in?
Cool. So, I mean, every day is different for me. And I will say, I need to establish like a routine, but it's just so crazy as a freelancer. There are some days I have to be at work at 10 or maybe even earlier. These meetings these past few days started at 8 and 9
Mhm,
o'clock, which is
mhm,
crazy. But my days always look different. Professionally, I aim to be on time, but like early to
mhm,
things.
mhm,
I mean, that's always the goal. And preparation. Preparation is always key for me, especially juggling so many different things, so many different gigs. There used to be a time, like when I was in school and college, where I could, just go practice for 4 or 5 hours and go do, what I got to do.
mhm.
But with orchestra gig on this day, decompose on the next day, recording, like I just have to prepare for so many different things. So just truly taking the time to prepare for it. And I have such limited time as well.
Mm,
So it's
mhm.
a matter of juggling and splitting hairs almost with attributing time to different responsibilities, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, you recorded a music video that you placed on your Instagram account. Did you record that while you were at Coachella performing there? I mean, how did that happen? Because it doesn't look like flat Midwest land there.
No, that was funny. So yes, we were out at Coachella, and we recorded it on a Monday
Mm,
because we performed Sunday night and we had to check out of the hotel and head back to LA.
mm.
And so the hotel we were staying at, it was kind of cool. It was like modeled after cheetahs. It was called the Cheetah Hotel.
Okay.
So they filmed part of it there while we were supposed to be checking out, getting up out of there. They're like, let's film this music video.
Mhm.
And on the drive back to LA, we would just see random things on the side of the road. Oh, that'll be a good place to record. So we were out there in the desert.
You were playing your heart out, I swear.
I was
Just
trying my
doing.
best.
So then here's a kind of a random question, but how many pounds does your violin weigh?
That's a great question. It's not heavy at all.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure how to, maybe like a pound,
8 pound or 8 pounds? One
eight,
pound?
1 pound.
Oh wow. Okay.
If
It's lighter than
that,
I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
it's very light, thankfully.
Does that attribute to your really sweet tone?
Well, the violin itself is a great violin. It's on loan to me right now till I'm 30.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I've had it since I was maybe 22, 23. It's a great violin, but also at the same time, I think I have my own sense of tone and
Mhm.
what I like to hear when I play. So no matter what instrument I'm on, I try to bring what, is in my heart and my ears to the instrument, and then it kind of just works out.
Mhm.
But yeah, the instrument is great as well.
And the reason why I asked about your instrument, because playing an instrument is so physical. And when you presented your Exhale concert in Chicago, I realized that you were standing and playing the majority of the time. You are literally shifting the narrative of plus size physicality. So let's be clear, people half your size can't do it. So how do you prepare your plus size body to stand and play nonstop so easily for an hour and a half or maybe even longer?
Well, growing up, or specifically like in classical music, when it comes to recitals, you're trained from a young age to stand and do the thing. A TBH, I'd rather sit at times, but if it's
Mhm.
solo playing, I like to stand. Thankfully, I was just playing with this group, Sphinx Virtuosi, and we
Mm,
stand
mhm.
when we play. As an orchestra, we stand. And that can be really intense because our concerts are like 2 hours. And I was coming off tour from that right before Exhale. So I
Okay.
think I was just revved up. And also, it's like adrenaline in a way.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
just like, I'm focused on the music and I try to wear comfortable shoes when I can. But yeah, when I think of like Lizzo, during choreography and just killing it and singing at the same time and just being the goddess she is,
Mhm.
she has to prepare for that and work and probably be in the gym to like stay on top of, being able to do the choreography and sing and all that stuff. And so that's definitely something I want to incorporate in my lifestyle. I feel like I'm always like running from gig to gig,
Mhm.
but just having that time to go on walks or breathe and meditate, I think is important to maintaining sanity and being able to do the things, continue to do the things.
Absolutely. Well, self-care is your birthright, so please do it.
Yeah.
So, if you've just tuned in, you're listening to and perhaps watching Full Body Frequency. My guest is award winning violinist Caitlin Edwards. And although she is classically trained, she plays the heck out of some gospel, neo soul, hip hop, and even TV themed songs while representing us big girls with the fly fits. So I saw a photo of you on IG because I'm always on your IG, I must admit.
Oh,
But not a stalker, but a fan again. But I detect a bit of anthropology. What are your onstage fashion go-tos and what factors into your selection process?
okay. Yeah, it's still developing, which is really exciting. Growing up, there wasn't really many options for plus size fashion.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I grew up in a religious household, so it was like modesty,
Mhm.
you wear your girdle, your stockings, whatever. So it's refreshing. It's nice to be able to have multiple websites and even sometimes stores in person to go to find pieces to wear. And I look at it from an artistic sense and also realistic. So realistically, I want to be comfortable.
Mhm.
Like the jumpsuit I wore for Exhale, I love jumpsuits. And it was just comfortable and I can just flow in it. And then also like what complements my body. Everybody's bodies are different and not all clothes are, made unfortunately for certain body types and stuff. So really try to explore, try new things, but just what speaks to me artistically. There was this suit that a friend of mine found online, that I did some headshots in. And she just sent it to me randomly, like, okay, you might like this, you might not. And it was just like, that's it. And that's like the feeling I like to have when it comes to clothes. Like, okay, that's it. That expresses what I want to express. I
Mhm.
feel good in it, look good. So,
Well, that's a bad suit. As soon as I hit
uh,
your website, I was like, "Oh my god, she is rocking Prince. She is giving us,"
yeah.
I'm just gonna say cliche, but life. It just felt so, there was so much energy around you with that. So
Oh,
I was just like, "Okay, I'm into this. I'm gonna get into this. Let me check out who this is." Playing the violin? Okay. There was a paradigm shift for sure. And you don't think of classically trained musicians wearing anything but black or maybe a dark color, something
yeah.
very long, nothing that accentuates the figure, especially if you are with orchestra. I'm preaching to the choir, of course, but everything is to focus on the music, not on the musicians. So everyone's wearing black. But given the cost of formal wear, do you rotate your performance gear, or with social media, do you feel the pressure to be one and done with your clothing?
Oh no. I rotate, like the formal dresses is necessary. I can get a few wears out of dresses, but there are also dresses in my closet that I haven't worn in a couple of years that are formal dresses, just because of the extraness of the dress. It might like be really beaded or heavy, and I just these days I really don't feel like going through all that. Yeah, I definitely rotate. When I go on tour this fall, I might buy a new formal dress, TBH. Yeah, I have a tendency to do continue to shop, but I need to, yeah, deal with the dresses I have right now.
I
But
hear
yes,
you. Okay.
yeah,
So in your bio, you mentioned that you won 4 Grammy certificates for your work with the Recollective Orchestra, again on Disney's Lion King. What are Grammy certificates versus Grammys? Is there a difference?
yes, there is a difference. Grammy certificates are usually issued out to, well, not issued, you have to apply for it. But for musicians, the engineers that worked on the projects, anybody outside of the actual artist or maybe composer, depending on the situation. So the Grammy certificate is just like an acknowledgement. Okay, you performed on it. I wish I could turn my camera around because I'm staring at them right now. But the name of the project, the Grammy Award year, blah blah blah, and a little, trinket. It's just something nice to have.
Well, it's well earned for sure, for sure. And I want to ask you one more question about Recollective, because I first experienced Recollective, and I think all of us did on a certain level, when the video for Black Panther movie
Yeah,
went viral. And you're seeing all of this blackness, all of this regalness, all of this great music playing over the song. And forgive me, what is the name of the song again?
all the
All
stars.
the Stars, right? Because
Kendrick
that was,
Lamar
and SZA, right?
and SZA. Yep.
Yeah. So it's just beautiful. And so you were there with, I'm gonna say maybe 50 other black musicians.
Yeah, around like probably like 40 to 50 folks.
And just the epitome of classically trained musicians coming together under the direction of Matt Jones. What was that experience like?
It was incredible. It was a love project, a project purely out of love. Like there was no like higher entity that was like, "Oh, you guys need to come together and do this."
Mhm.
Matt composed the orchestration, and Stephanie Matthews, who is she's one of my mentors, my inspirations. She's really killing the game out in LA. She's one of the founders of the Recollective Orchestra, and
Mm.
she's a wonderful violinist as well. They did this project out of love, wanting to show that we are here, we're doing the thing. And I believe that showed so many people like, whoa, Black people, orchestra, killing it. The flute, I used to play the flute. It was such an incredible experience. And, everybody in the room was, like family. We were having a great time together. So that was a great moment in time.
It was beautiful. I mean, from time to time, I still play it.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational, not only to see representation, but the music, it's just absolutely stunning. So,
Yeah.
and I'm
It's
gonna link
Matt.
Matt. Yeah, Matt.
Matt.
Eh,
Like, I'll look up sometimes and he's, like, over in Berlin or London working on projects, so
Now, was that specific coming together, convening, did that impact the launching to some degree, or the attention that you got and future work, or did it not?
I wouldn't say so. It was just really a cool project to be part of, to take pride in,
Mhm.
be able to share with our, individual audiences. But everybody in that room, everybody is doing incredible things. Like, you had Broadway musicians that play in Broadway productions. Marquise Hill, is that
Oh,
his
yeah.
last name? Trumpeter.
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
up in there.
Mhm.
People that are already doing the thing. And that's what's so beautiful about our community of Black classical musicians. They say we have to work 10 times as hard as our, white counterparts. And it's so true because when you look at our community of musicians, everybody is doing the doggone thing. Like, they're
Mhm.
going for it, they're making strides in their individual fields. So that was just a beautiful moment.
And captured for all of us to see. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Speaking of group work, your Black Chamber Music Collective, Decompose, is receiving some really well deserved recognition for its work illuminating that Black culture and creativity is foundational to every music genre today, from rock and roll via Chuck Berry and Sister Rosetta Tharpe to country to opera, jazz, and even punk, with the late musician Betty Davis, Bad Brains Fishbone, and one of my favorite musicians and composers, Tamar Kali. So tell us more about the specific work that Decompose does to preserve, promote, and present great Black music.
Yes. From the very first concert, our intention was to uplift the works of Black composers. And we drew from music by Jesse Montgomery, who's the current, composer in residence with the Chicago Symphony, first Black woman,
Mhm.
and Florence Price, who also, had history, Chicago Symphony, William Grant Still. And so, as we continued to incorporate these composers, we also desire to collaborate with living composers and artists in our community, and other artists, outside of string playing. So that's our idea, to like just continue to cultivate Black culture, but also to collaborate with the beautiful Black artists that are in our community and who are doing the thing out in the field. I'm excited to be a part of Decompose because there was nothing like Decompose when I was growing up. And to be able to do what I love, present myself like as I am, bring my
Mhm.
whole self into it and all the parts of me, the gospel, neo soul, improvisation, and of course the classical chops. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. Oh. We mentioned Decompose, we mentioned Recollective, but you've also played with a number of orchestras, including the Sphinx Orchestra, which you actually mentioned earlier, the Nairobi Philharmonic, the Chicago Sinfonietta, the Chicago Philharmonic, and of course, Candlelight Concerts. Even with all of that, you are really making a name for yourself with solo projects. I referenced your Exhale project earlier. Tell us about that project and your Exhale CD. How did those things happen?
So as hell was a pandemic project. I was just in my bedroom, just wanting to do something. We couldn't perform at the time. This was very early on, like 2020. And so I began to make music. I bought a recording setup, so like mic, earphones, interface, and I began to put tracks, drum tracks, piano, play a little bit MIDI, and just explore. And it was really just for fun at first. And then I made one song, two songs, three songs, and then it was like, oh, I'll create an EP, sure. And then I
Mhm,
kept creating and was like, okay, well, now it's an album. And yeah, it was a pandemic, baby. But it was all stemming, the inspiration for the music was stemming from the music I was listening to at the time, which I'm always listening to neo soul, gospel, R&B, but also just my feelings around the pandemic. There would be times where I would go to the lake and just like write down what I was feeling at the time, the emotions, everything. And so exhale is transparency, where I was in life at the time. And also what I was telling myself, you just gotta breathe, breathe through this,
mhm,
get through this. Don't know what's happening. I'm anxious, like, can't really go outside. I hate to go down this road, but just not knowing, will
mhm,
I get COVID? Will I end up in the hospital? How do I avoid this other than, the obvious, wash your hands and mask up? But it was just, it was a time of uncertainty. And that's when I learned to truly breathe,
mhm, mhm,
through the
mhm.
craziness. So hence exhale. Yeah.
So during your concert, your Exhale concert that was at the University of Chicago, you had a number of special guests that appeared on stage with you, including your very gifted brother who plays the bass.
Yes.
And then you had a very beautiful singer whose name I forget.
Yes. LaQuentin Jenkins. Q.
Q. Okay. And as you continue with your solo projects, who's on your guest wish list?
I guess wish list. Okay. I can tell you something that I've been thinking about for a minute, which will happen. I'm speaking into existence. I really want to do a violin and organ album with Matt Jones.
Mm,
Yeah, that
wow.
that's next
Okay.
on like my want to, other than, continuing to create original music for myself. Growing up in the church, all those
Mhm,
old hymnals
mhm,
and what we call blood songs and all
mhm,
those stuff. I really want to create an album that centers around that music, but incorporating violin, organ. So that's on the docket, I want to collaborate with some more singers, have some vocals on the album,
mhm.
while also still upholding the violin, just figuring out how to do that. I hope that kind of answered your question.
That is the question, and it makes me really curious. And now I have more questions for you. So, are we talking about the Hammond organ? Are we talking about the ones with all the pipes, like Rockefeller Chapel? Talking about Hammond.
Hammond, like a
Hammond, okay.
B3. We're
Anything?
in the
Okay.
church.
Okay. So the Black church experience revisited and remixed, in other words.
Yes.
Okay.
With some, elements of jazz. And I think about what's that song? A Stevie Wonder. It's on Intervision, the album, dum, dum, where it's just instrumental.
Okay.
See, now I'm gonna have to find it. But just expanding beyond, just exploring what's possible with
Mhm.
violin and organ. We might get saxophone in on it too, or some drums, depending on the tracks.
So you have to keep us apprised of when that's going to happen,
I
so
will.
we can be in the place. So I know you're a mentor to a number of aspiring musicians. And what are some of the words of advice that you have for them?
Yeah, things that I stress to them: organization. But when I say organization, organizing time,
Mhm.
basically. A lot of young people, when they practice, they're practicing just to, play the instrument, and you go over the same thing over and over and still make the same mistakes over and over. It doesn't get
Mm.
better. But just like learning how to focus and set a goal. For 10 minutes, I want to work on my bow stroke for this particular passage. I
Mhm.
want to spend 15 minutes working on intonation, putting things in tune, because these things weren't taught to me until I was in grad school.
Mm.
So I'm trying to tell them now, save them some hours, but also taking time for yourself. These kids are involved with so much these days, doing orchestra and then CMPI and then track or debate team and all these different things. And it's stressful. So many students are stressed out, especially with the world we're living in and social media and just so many things pulling at them. So I encourage my kids to take time for themselves, to breathe, and to not get caught into the mold of, oh, I have to practice 5 hours every day, and I have to stress myself out. I have to play through my injuries,
Mm.
all these things that unfortunately are promoted within classical music. And no, we're throwing it away. You're a human first, you're a person first. We have to focus on you. So I try to stress that to them.
Sounds like you're jailbreaking classical music to me.
I'm trying. We gotta live. We're humans first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Caitlin Edwards, violinist, composer, arranger, cultural warrior, and exhaler, thank you for being here
Yeah.
today.
Thank you for having me, Laura. This was so nice. Thank you for your platform. Thank you for spotlighting plus size people and giving us a platform to speak our truths. I feel my heart is warmed from this conversation, and I'm honored that you reached out to me.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, I'm a fan, and I just want so many people to have the Caitlin Edwards experience that I had. So thank you for being here. For more information on Caitlin, her Exhale CD, or her upcoming concerts in a city or country near you, check out her website, CaitlinEdwards.com. That's Caitlin with a C, Edwards with an S.com, or head over to Violinist Kate, CAITE, at Instagram. Until next time, tune into your own full body frequency where large is luscious living.